Hey up, how's they doing? Something a little bit different from me this week. I'm going to go through Luminar Neo and some of its lighting effects that sometimes I like to use on my photography. So without further ado, let's dive into the PC and see what it's got to offer.
So as you can see, I've got this image here. This is from Higator from a few months ago, and we got a fairly decent sunset. It's not an amazing picture, but what you might notice is there's a few light rays coming down as the sun sort of behind this cloud. So the first thing I'm going to do before doing anything in Luminar is I'm just going to copy. I'm just going to copy the base image. So by pressing Control J, that'll give me a duplicate image, and then I'm just going to go up to Filters, Skylum Software, Luminar Neo, and that'll take a couple of seconds to load up. Right, so once it loads up, it always starts in this presets panel. Up at the top, you click on Edit, and that'll bring up all the various editing modules. We're just going to scroll down on the right hand side to Landscape, and you'll see Sun Stars. Next step, we click on Place Sun Star, and what you'll find on your image, you'll get this little white dot. We can move that wherever we want it to be. I'm going to move it over here. This is roughly where the actual real sun was. I'm going to crank up the amount. Now what I'll do is I'll turn it up to 100%. It'll be way too much, but it'll show you the effect that it has. You can move the actual dot around at any time where the actual sun is placed. I think I'll place it just in this little gap here in the clouds. And I'll just turn down this amount just so it's a little bit more realistic. And yeah, I think until it's not shining on the rocks. Overall look, I tend to turn that up to 100%. That tends to give you an image that's more toned like your original photo. Sunray length, again, it's just a case of turning it down. So in this case, I don't want it to encroach on the rocks. Penetration, well, if you actually look up here where the sun is, that's just how much it cuts through those clouds or any object that's in the way of the sun rays. And then as we work our way down, the next tab is sun settings. The sun radius is how big the sun is, and the glow. I'm actually quite happy with how the sun is, so I'm going to leave that alone. Sun ray settings. Now the number of sun rays at the moment is 50. Again, I'll just crank it up and show you sort of the extremes. Now I think that's too many sun rays, and I tend to go very low. So I'll just turn this slider down, and I think somewhere between between 4 and 8 tends to work quite well. And then randomize this bottom slider. You just slide it along, and that just gives you various different versions of the sun rays. I quite like that one. I think it ties in quite well with the existing light ray. Next tab down is warmth. The sun warmth will just slide that up a little bit. It's a little bit cool, a little bit white. And the actual real sun was very orange, so I'll just turn that up a bit. And the same goes for the sun rays. We'll just turn them up so they're a little bit more orange, a little bit more in keeping with the light that was actually there. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to scroll back up to the beginning of this little process. You'll see this little icon, this little eye icon. If we click that, that gives us before and after. So as you'll see, we've just added a little bit more, a few more light rays into the image. When we've done, we click apply.
Now what I would say is if you're going to use this feature, I'd be as subtle as possible. Don't be too heavy-handed with it. And if you are going to use this feature on your images, and I have no problem with people using this to enhance their images, it's a great tool. But I think you need to be open and honest. I don't think you really should go banging on about what an amazing sunset you had and the amazing sun rays that you got. If you're going to be artificial, I think you need to be above board and actually say that you've at least enhanced what was already there.
So as you can see, we've got the two images now. This top layer, and then there's the original on the bottom layer.
So that's sun rays, but Luminar also has another really good lighting feature that I sometimes use. Let me show you that one.
Right, so at the top of the screen you should see that I've got another tab. We'll click on that, and that opens this image up. Now this is Chroma Pier, this shelter on the pier. Now this particular evening there was quite a lot of sea spray in the air, and there's quite a glow, quite you know, the light inside the shelter was sort of catching it. Now the finished image doesn't quite do it justice how it looked to my eye. There was a lot more spray. I suppose the human eye's got a lot more definition. So what we can do is we can again open it up in Luminar, but before we do that, let's again go Control J, and that gives us a duplicate. We're going to go up to filters again, so filter, Skylum, Luminar Neo, and that'll open up. So again, it opens on presets. We're going to click edit, and we're going to scroll down, and we'll find Magic Light. Now, first thing I always do is just turn up the intensity a little bit. In fact, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to turn up that intensity to the max. And we're going to make that brush size a little bit bigger. And I just want to, and you really don't need to be too precise, just paint into where the light's shining through these windows. I think I'll just add a little bit there as well. Now that's clearly way too much, so we're just going to turn this intensity down. I usually find around sort of 25-30 is enough. You just want to get rid of that sort of sun star appearance. Size, again, if you turn that up, you can just help get rid of some of those sun stars. Glow, I'm going to turn that up, but I don't want it to encroach into sort of the bottom third of the image. So I'm just going to turn it up as much as I dare. Cleanliness, I tend to turn that down to 0. Again, if I crank it all the way up, you'll see we end up with sun stars. So I turn that down to 0. Brightness, well, that's a personal choice, but I'm going to turn it right up. When I was there was quite a lot of haze. Although, to be fair, that could have just been a load of sea spray that were all over my glasses. Beams, I tend to leave that how it is, but if anything, I'd more likely to turn it down than up. And again, just like we did with the sun stars, if we click on that little eye icon, we get a before and after. And you'll see we've just got this nice glow, this nice halo around the building. Just gives it that sort of otherworldly feeling. I'm going to scroll down because there are a couple of other things we can actually add. If you look here, we've got a little tab here called Mystical. Now, this and the next one I'm going to show you, you do have to be quite light with the touch. Again, don't turn it up too much because it'll just go so soft and fuzzy. But if you just add a little bit of Mystical, around 20% maybe, and then the next one, the tab below, Glow. And I tend to select Art and Effect, and this one rarely use more than 10%. I think we've done, so I'm just going to click on Apply, and that'll dump itself back into Photoshop. So here we are, back in Photoshop, and just like we did with the sun stars, because we've got the original image underneath, we can turn off that top layer. There's the original, turn it back on. There's the adjusted image that we've done in Luminar. Now looking at it, I think I've gone way too heavy-handed, but to be fair, I've been quite hard with the sliders because I wanted to really show you the effects that it can have. Yeah, I think I'd be a lot more subtle. Just like I mentioned with the sun stars, I think sometimes subtlety is the key.
So that were a really quick rundown of a couple of simple lighting effects that you can do in Luminar Neo. Hopefully you saw just how simple it was and just how much it can really lift the images. I don't use it on every shot that I take, obviously that wouldn't make sense, but the few times I've used it, I've been really impressed at just how much it's lifted the image to the next level. And that Autumn effect and Mystical slider, absolutely superb in woodland. That's really helped with my woodland photography. So if you like the idea of Luminar Neo, I'll leave a link in the description below, and a code, GS Photo, that'll get you 10% off. And if you do make a purchase, leave a comment down below. I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are. Personally, I think it's an absolutely cracking piece of kit, an absolutely brilliant piece of software. Right, so I'll wrap things up. Hopefully next week we'll be out and about, out in the wild, taking some images. So until next time, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you there.